Peace, peace, peace. Greetings to all. Give honor to Source, to the Most High, to God, whatever you see your higher power as. Most importantly, give honor to yourself. Um, give gratitude to where you are. I won't be before y'all. Just however the divine see fit. Really, honestly. Uh, whew. Um, this is this video can be really received however, but especially for I'm going to really speak on men's mental health right now. Everyone's mental health is very valuable, youth, so forth, but I'm going to speak on men's, like, a lot of things that bring you into our world. And again, energetically we carry masculine and feminine principles. um just a topic at hand, and it's probably a lot of collective energy right now, seeing so many family dynamics um, on a global scale, you know, down to the root of things. Probably a lot of things being clear right now. A lot of things probably going on with families or in your immediate family that you never thought that could make or break, be a make or break situation in regards to even protecting yourself and energy. So that being said, um, the mental health aspect I want to talk about is even the process of, like, how we cope with the transition of someone. And what I mean by transition, it's like a passing or a loss of a loved one, when they leave this earthly plane. And that process for everyone is completely different. Um, I know prominently in the melanated community or whatever, like I said, I don't want to just categorize people, but there's this thing about, celebrating, well, not even celebrating it, because I know it's different for different people, because I do know people who are into spirituality and, their practices or beliefs, they celebrate the transition of people. And in certain aspects, a lot of us were taught to, and it's not to say we don't grieve in different ways, because, honor the emotion. It's more so how we are taught to just mourn so much that we truly wasn't taught how to really let it go. And even the mental health surrounding that, especially as men, and it's not to say it doesn't happen with women, but I'm speaking on the behalf of, on us. We're taught so much due to how much of our women have been wounded emotionally. We have, being that they were never really shown what it is to honor their emotion and express it in a or had a safe place to express it due to their upbringing and so forth. Um, a lot of or even the anxiety around expressing it, and so that trickles down to the men, to the sons. And so, this whole idea around, us not needing to express ourselves and cry. Let me tell you, in the last, say, 3, 4, 5 years, especially, I would say actually throughout my 34 years now, the 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 last 7 years, this is the most I've ever cried. Honoring so much that has been built up, in regards to emotions that's connected to my own healing journey, emotions regarding relationships, having to grieve that, having to move forward, and then realizing how much emotions that's been pent up, that's been connected to my childhood experiences, seeing how much pain in the body, traumas showing up, um, and so forth. And it can be very challenging, because from my own experience, I didn't have many men that portrayed a healthy dialogue when it comes to expressing emotions and or communicating that. Um, and so even diving deep into how learning that on my own, having to learn to father myself, father the father and mother, masculine and feminine energies within myself. A lot of us had to mother and father ourselves young, being that we had caregivers who were disconnected to that emotion, or was emotionally unavailable, and chose, street life, or chose other things outside of that. And I've been noticing like a pattern now that a lot of caregivers, parents, whatever you want to call them, it's like a lot of things is coming full circle real fast. And I've been seeing the significance with this 8 year, this number eight, 2024, you know, being in the Western year or whatever, astrology or whatever. But a lot of things now, it's like, as I saw a lot previously in the 2023, a lot of things, especially emotionally, that came up. A lot of things spiritually that led me to where I am now, the maturity and my own growth within me, regaining my power through my emotions, through the reconnecting with myself, my princess, her mother, and the bigger picture, and how, even with that, how that mirrors back to me all the emotional traumas that was stored away, um and so many things coming up in regards to my childhood. So whew, man, it can be very challenging, because again, in a society or in an environment where these things aren't taught in school firsthand, no life skills, or even communicating your emotions, how to navigate them, um, being ostracized, or criticized and negatively judged just by simply your skin color, just by simply your outer image, rather than it can go on and on. So it's been even the process, the labels behind what fatherhood should look like, what a man should be societally, and or more so how our own women view us from their own wounded state. And this is not all, but just how a lot of the programming has affected a lot of men that don't have the courage to speak about this. And this is why a lot of things that I go through, I have the courage, and I realize it's my purpose to like speak about a lot of things, to give a lot of people clarity and confirmation, and not feel guilty or let go of that guilt and shame around expressing yourself, being who you are, and being empowered, you know, being restored, standing up, having that self confidence again, building your self esteem, creating a new identity around the false identity, creating a new identity, being rebirthing that from the false identity, that you was once living in. What? Yeah, baby. Okay, one moment. You want to watch one of these? What about Coco? Oh, be careful getting up. This one? Okay, be careful, okay? Okay. Daddy gonna cook in a little bit, all right? Okay. Okay, baby. Okay, where was I left out there? I'm got the cats off. Lord, man. But anywho, what was I at? I feel like I come back where I was. But basically speaking about emotions again, not being able to. Okay, speaking on where a lot of our youth and or men, them not having the awareness around this, them not really having the emotional support young, and then seeing this play out when they don't know how to navigate their emotions. So um, you see this behavior displayed when you see a lot of joining a gang, for support, for some type of foundation, for some type of love. It's many ways that this can play out because I've experienced it. I've seen people to experience it, see how they go down a road to lead right to jail and or prison and so forth. And it's a lot of things to do with that because there's so many different puzzle pieces to how a lot of young men and women, but most importantly, how their own experience guides them to um, their misguiding and being devalued so much that they don't know what is where and how to value themselves and where to look for that. So they go externally. And I'm just grateful that I came into this own awareness to learn to believe in myself again, learn to see the God within myself, learning to listen to the divine, source, God, whatever, for that guidance. Tap back into, learning more about my ancestral connection, lineage, where I live, where, a lot of things connected to that, to see the importance of the value of what I'm here to do and keep that legacy going in my own unique way and not expect, the kids and the youth to do it exactly the way I did. It's sometimes they just need a guiding light. And it's a huge responsibility in that to become aware of that, to realize that you have some type of ripple effect. And even in that, there's a lot of challenge to where a lot of us aren't told, not to beat ourselves up over the actions that we have taken in the past, or, things that we didn't feel too proud of, and how to navigate through that. So again, you have environments that it's no longer can be overlooked. We didn't really have the mental support, and there's not a lot of it. There's a mental health crisis simply because, again, if we as men and or young men are taught so young that we're only valuable, and our women are taught, young girls are taught that they're only valuable for what, you know in a derogatory way, like to devalue them in any way, that they're only good for what, just to see their outer appearance. And so you see that displayed through social media, through a lot of things. And again, the awareness even around how we're trying to portray this false identity online or somewhere else, and or in the community. And truthfully, a lot of us growing up, we had no idea what it is to really be authentic. And then when we were trying to be authentic and express ourselves and to be who we came here to be, a lot of it was shunned. A lot of it was cast aside. A lot of it was called weird. A lot of it was called so many things. When a man or a young boy tried to express himself, his feminine attributes and or principles, which we learned and gained from, the creator, and more so like the feminine aspects of our emotions and who we are, everything dealing with that, our natural abilities, the intelligence comes from the mother, matriarchally. So a lot of us learn our identity through the father. A lot of the men, meaning that the father, the men that represented the fathers in our life, whether we knew it unconsciously or not, we still took on this narrative. And that in itself, we absorb men who had mental issues who didn't realize they had mental issues. We absorb women who had woundings and or inner woundings that they have been suppressor for so long, and we took on those emotional resonance. We took on that emotionally. Then this is why you see a hypersensitive aspect of men who uncontrollably don't know how to express their emotions. So this is where the impulse comes in. And this is where the labels of ADHD, because they're so what they call hyperactive. But that hyperactive is no different than being hypersensitive. In a way, that's just how I perceive it. Because I was one of those men growing up around not really growing up around a lot of men per se. It was kind of a balance, but I really saw myself gravitated to more was a lot of women. And that was a lot of connection due to the fact of what I went through in my childhood with them. And I realize now how that awareness brought me to where I am now, the emotional intelligence, the awareness around that to bring me to see how I can connect emotionally with myself, and now being able to connect with a lot of women emotionally and my princess, because that right there is the most important, like teaching me the most important emotional intelligence from someone who's learning their emotions. So man, it's a lot to deal with this because it's when you think you knew something, you knew nothing at all. But most importantly, like it's like really knowing yourself and learning yourself and mastering that aspect of selves, like meaning like mastering the part of your emotions, mastering that part of your mental, your spiritual. There's so many things that go with that. So, I talked previously about the ADHD thing because when we are in environments or have grown up in environments where um there is no active listeners in our families, meaning that people actively have sit down and listen without a response. A lot of us men haven't had or grew up in a lot of relationships or had a mother figure who sat down one on one and listened to us or even wanted us to express our emotions without there being some type of rebuttal, without there being some type of argument, without that type, because, and it's not their fault, but our mothers never had active listeners. So a part of them feels like they're neglecting themselves to listen to even us, whatever they went through with the father or, the children's father or whomever, what with men, they haven't had that safe place to even express their emotions, the women. So I can see the pattern how even us as sons that grow into fathers, we're trying, wanting desperately for the world to listen and to hear us. And now that I have this platform of saying this, it's like I'm opening that door to everybody. You know, you can research what an active listener is. And I had to learn that process and still learning that process. And I mean actively listening to your own self, being aware of your own emotions, your body. We haven't had our women do that for a while because they've been subjected or devalued so much and out of place energetically, emotionally, spiritually. They've been out of place physically, so that connects to how that affects their mental health, their spiritual hygiene and well-being, and their emotional. So guess what that does? That affects the sons and the daughters. So that typically when it affects the son, it can show up differently in our daughters because if whatever and how she experienced a relationship with the father, um a woman per se, if there was no kind of protection there, no security, she's learning and developing that what she would experience in a father, or how that would reflect in a masculine and feminine aspect, depending on how they portray or project their energy out in that father-daughter dynamic. And that father-daughter dynamic breeds and creates a mother-son dynamic. And then that mother-son dynamic creates a father-daughter. You see the cycle. So you're talking about from matriarchal to patriarchal. The matriarchal, again, I talked about this. It's like, yes, love. Did you get it? Okay, baby. One more. You got it? Come here so I can get it. Okay, Lily, let me get it then. Come here so I can get it. Okay, come on so I can get it. Let me see. Where is it at? Where? I don't know where it's at. Point to daddy so I can see. Where? Say ah. You got it? Yeah. Maybe I don't. Okay. Okay. Say ah. Point to where it is. Over here? Okay, say ah. Turn around so I can see. Is it up here or down here? Is it up here or down here, baby? Did I get it? Oh, you not going to. Is it up here or is it down there? Well, you said it was down there. Ah, baby, I can't do it if you got your mouth closed, baby. Got it? Oh, Lord. Yes. Okay. Oh, Lord, patience. Okay. Oh, Lord. I had to help the princess get the little popcorn kernel out of her teeth. Don't try this at home, kids. No, but anywho, I need some chapstick. That. Ooh. Um. So yeah, where was I at? Basically, it's funny. Whew, I'll be able to have patience, bro. Princess is like, I got something in my tea. I'm like, where is that? She's saying down here. I'm looking this up here, and I'm like, where is it at? Is it up here? Point to it, help that, and it's like the whole time you gotta have patience, breathe, and then I'm like, you gotta hold your mouth open so I can be able to see it. I'm telling you, man, a lot of, and look, this is exactly what I'm getting at. It's like, and we haven't had as humanity or people had the guidance in a healthy way how to navigate, even how to human interaction. You gotta, we haven't even had natural human interaction because there's been so much fear and again social anxiety with certain things that have happened in the world. Think about that. The anxiety around that, the fear around being around people, the fear around other things like that hasn't been talked about, that been brushed up under the rug for so long. The fear around all of that. And this has been like stored in our DNA, stored in our emotional field, our spiritual, physical bodies for so long. And now a lot of stuff is coming up. It's like I've been noticing, like, that's probably a lot of you can relate to this. That's probably so much that's been coming up in your visions, dreams, or whatever you want to call it. So much, even with you, that seemed like it's uncontrollable because of so much anger, so much that conversations that you want to have with people. Because think about what mama held on to that passed down to you. Think about what dad, things that people that, and much love to people that have lost someone, because I recently had to experience something again, and it's like, wow, it's even the acceptance in that, but it's so much of like how that can be very transformative for people. And much love and sending healing and guidance to you all through, these troubled waters and through your storm. Sending, a rainbow or a beacon of light so that you can be able to be guided through these moments, because it's not easy at all. A lot of us don't know how to navigate someone transitioning. And that could bring up a lot of things, and depending on how their relationship was, um, because there being that how long the duration was, you had connection with years or something, that can be emotional. You build an emotional connection with that person. And sometimes it depends on if some people didn't even get a chance to, mothers, fathers, or people to even connect with the being, or, the person. And, there's a lot to go into detail about that. So it's a whole process of, like, again, a lot of us didn't have those healthy dynamics growing up. And so all the while trying to navigate this, it's a process. It's not easy. It can be very lonely. It can seem very stressful. Some people may go through depression. So, it's a lot of emotion surrounding that, and no one really knows the depths of the pain or the suffering and or experience that you go through. And and not to mention, like, the mental health awareness, the alarm that goes off around even how to navigate things as such. This is something that's not taught in school. These are things that need to be imprinted or implemented, because it's a part of the human experience. And we've been overlooking so much so long that we don't realize, like, how do you tell a child that their mother or father won't be here, or you won't be able to see them physically? How do you tell them even an adult who still has an inner child or going through things, like, how do you tell them that your child or someone else you won't see them physically? There's a spiritual connection to that. There's an emotional connection. There's a lot of things that go with that. And not to mention, it's like living with that consciously. And then the subconscious fears and anxiety that comes up around that, even happening to the people closest to you. You know, and I recently had that happen with I recently found out someone that represented a patriarchal, my grandfather, my mother's father, transitioned not too long ago. And even just that process, it's like we as men aren't even taught how to navigate that, how to grieve properly. A lot of this shit don't come with a manual. And all the while, here you are in the whole spiritual warfare. You in a storm trying to accept where you are, trying to be at peace where you are, all the while trying to just still create through the storm, navigating the emotions, questioning, like, am I going to numb myself? A lot of us, Lily, be careful. What are you doing? All of us, some people trying to, they don't know how to navigate this. And I see this a lot with a lot of young men and women, but, from my experience, we don't know how to navigate that. We try to brush it off like, oh, we good, and we hoarding so much of emotion and pain that we don't even know how to express it. Because if we do, oh, you a punk, you a bitch, all these other terms that, show no emotion, and just so many things that's a part of this human experience, what we were, called here to do. And I'm here to change that. And again, because it's important, because you want to navigate and move on in life, and you want to be in relationships or connections with people. You want to, be honest with your children, be authentic. But we were never shown that. So a lot of us are out here lost in the world and don't know how to do that, because we never saw men and or women who truly communicated that to us. Like, it's important for you to feel frustration, anger. Let me know when you're sad. We didn't have that. We didn't have, like, hey, are you okay? A lot of us didn't grow up like that. And I know how much it's really, even though my mom or somebody else doesn't tell me, I know how much it affects them, because they're needing that emotional support. So a lot of people can crash, so a lot of people can feel empty, or, go off the rockers, because, they relapse into whatever their experience was, whether it be drugs, alcohol, certain things like that, sex. It's so many things to try to cope with it, because we were never giving us a authentic or a holistic solution to these things. Because even when we want to, there's been so much betrayal around expressing ourselves on both part, men and women. There was a time when we were kids where, you will play like, have a little secret, write it on a note, and some things can stay between people. But it's like there's so much going on being revealed, you know, about, on a physical level that is, but spiritually it's like there's so much a lot of us are finding out about ourselves, about our lineage, about, the things that it's so much, man, that I can go into depth about. But I know that people are hurting, and everyone don't grieve the same way as you do. Everyone don't process and cope with things. And I had to learn that because um myself, I had to learn. I've navigated and learned to accept death or transition, or as a part of just life, and I'm able to get through that in a more, I would say, from my perception, a more peaceful way than other people. I don't really care to go to funerals, and people can judge or perceive it, to each his own. I honestly, from a spiritual perspective, see how, I do believe that people move on, their soul leaves the body, their spirit, however you want to say it, and then they move on to another life. I do not, I grew up in the church thing, and in those environments, a lot of it did not make sense to me. And a lot of people can attack people on this, but I'm not the one. So, the shit gonna get transmuted and alchemized if if you want to go through that. I'm not here to judge your beliefs. And before you throw your stone, just know I'm just gonna build a bigger empire. I'm just gonna keep building towards what I came here to do. But the awareness around that, for those that do realize that it's okay, whatever beliefs you have. And and this is because I've been around people from many cultures who believe so many other things, from different pantheons and so forth. But again, in me learning, again, like growing up in those Baptist backgrounds and all those church things, I just simply question a lot of stuff. And then I saw the mental health even in that. It's like, for someone to idolize and believe in someone else more than themselves, like that right there tells me a lot about people's self-esteem, or having low self-esteem, and being able to dissect how the so-called characters religiously, depending on who it is, has been used from a wounded state to look for some type of acceptance or gratification or praise externally to be fulfilled internally. When that was already our purpose, we already have been fulfilled. We've already are whole, or and that's a whole nother topic, but I'm just able to, again, perceive it differently. I'm not here to go back and debate with people on that. That was a whole nother age or whatever. And now, being in the Aquarian age, the age of information, or the golden age, a lot of things now is from as above, so below. A lot of the natural or intelligence is being returned. And those of you that know, that are in tune, a lot of things are being restored through us, through our emotional fields, through our spiritual, mental, now on the physical plane, or and so forth. So again, a lot of things we have a natural ability to understand and overstand or comprehend. This ain't no shit you can get out of a book. Like, again, some people can correlate and connect to things differently. Again, if even in still, there's still things to learn from different books, because I just put myself in those character positions or places to where I'm able to see both sides, or I'm able to see, wow, this person walked this life. Wow, I see how he or she responded to when this person betrayed him, when this person yada yada yada. But then I also can see, like, oh, I've done what they did, but none of them was perfect in a way to what they did. So it's like it, and that's why the whole church and religious thing, it amazes me how people look past the fact of, like, some people want to be so much like the character that they forget themselves. Like, I'm not gonna do that. But not see the correlation or see the connection, how this person in a way reflects, because if we're made in the image of God, then we're all are particles or aspects or puzzle pieces or a reflection of that. So that means we all in a way play a role. So again, just the mental health awareness around that, how I have seen how even a lot of women that, have, and I know eventually it's probably gonna come out, how a lot of them returning to their spirituality or returning to whatever beliefs they, have, is more so like they can see a lot of people are getting out of getting away from how the programming around it. I'm not saying that certain things aren't to be true to you or whomever else. It's the how the control aspect of going to this one person, pastor, preacher, somebody, to get all your answers when a lot of these things are already within you. Or a lot of these, elder expressed to me like the greatest knowledge on earth is someone who can find a solution to their problems. So if we're not teaching our kids, mothers, and men to find a solution to their life, wherever it is, the problems, find a solution, then that is going to be a continuous loop of what? Cycling the problem and only seeing the problem and staying in the dark rather than being exposed to the light and really seeing like the actuality of things rather than living in la la land and in fantasy. And I truly feel like this is what a lot of this Aquarian age is about. And it's beautiful and it's so divine, because a lot of this couldn't be a better moment or time like in humanity, where not only just the mental health surrounding, but the emotional well-being of people. How how we have as humanity, our kids, and more so who have influenced that, and then they're being held responsible. It's like it amazes me, and I be saying, I guess I'm just here to get all this out. It's like it amazes me how people put certain people on a pedestal as if they use this same religious figure or you're idolizing all these people rather than believing in yourself to find that solution, because they can never give you the solution. No amount of money can cover up that pain. No amount of material gains can cover up that internal wounding. And that's the awareness that I've come into within my own being, within my own self, is that um learning to have compassion for myself, because it didn't matter how much I had or gained materialistically, um, or wherever I was in life, there were still fucking internal battles that I had to face. There were still things connecting to certain relationships, certain partnerships that I still now am letting go of, and creating a whole new perspective and seeing life completely different. Even a state of mind, and so just seeing how even the ones that you call immediate family or whatever, just listening and hearing their mindset around life, and you really seeing the mental health awareness, like you seeing the alarm go off, and there's everyone's family has somebody that's going to some type of either mental health, um, near death experience, transit, a lot of things. No one's exempt. And so even through this process, I realize that a lot of what I bring to y'all has a lot to do with what I'm experiencing. I'm not judging no one. I'm not telling you to believe and take any and everything that I said. It's just so much of like, I love this shit. Like, I love being able to, I feel the security that I regain is allowing me to be able within myself to being secure. Again, the insecurities that I were projecting onto people, having to go through my own journey and to learn now to reassess the mental health, the emotional health, the spiritual well-being, all that playing a part into the physical, seeing now how I show up for myself, I show up for others, and reconnecting to that. And so the bigger picture in that is now it's not just about fatherhood. That particular person that transitioned, that was major, because here's someone who I did have the opportunity. He did have the opportunity to meet my princess, and that right there was very powerful in a sense, because I was able to still have chats with him, and not knowing, you have the idea of accepting, like, okay, this person, the state of their health, it could be a possibility that they may go, and just hearing about um that transition and him departing, and just seeing how, for me, it looks different for, through my mom or someone else's eyes, that that's their father, or and for me, it was more so like how a lot of those memories come back up about this person. How, did they really affect your life? Did they really, how they play a role in your life? And that's the thing about this. It's like everyone plays a different role. Everyone doesn't have so much of an emotional pull or can get a reaction out of you like everyone else. So um, even with that, there was still a process of, again, how we all grieve and get through things. That doesn't mean it may come up right away. I realized how certain things, one of my other cousins transitioned, like, it's been like, I want to say, like, dang, what is it, 20? It's been like almost 11, 12, 13 years. It's been like over a decade, basically. And there's still things I'm still accepting, in the mental health awareness around that. Even just how to try to navigate that, and really at day to day accepting that this person you won't be able to see in the physical ever again. But the spirituality aspect of knowing, like, these people walk with you in the spirit, or they're protecting you, or you can connect with them. And that's for those who, study different pantheons about that. Um, but other than that, it's like, again, I realized that I had accepted a lot of things younger. Like, I could just handle when people transition, or, experience some type of, or experience a loss. I was just able to navigate it differently than other people. But again, those emotions, like, again, with my cousin, a lot of stuff didn't show up till like later, like what they call an ugly cry. Like, a lot of things, like, you were supposed to be here, why you leave. We go through like, it's like different episodes, man. It's like you go through different things, and that's okay, because we're not taught how to navigate these things, and people still battle with that. Some people don't, they cope with it in different ways. Some people um they escape through, like, I saw this episode on Hoarders, when this lady was um she saw, and when she was younger, her dad passed, and it's very graphic, but I'm just gonna keep it real slim. She saw her dad pass, and basically, like, she tried. I think I said this on a previous video. She saw her dad pass, and it talks about, I think it says, compulsive hoarding disorder. The obsessiveness of objects, not knowing how, not letting them go, and so forth. You can look this up, and seeing the emotional connection people had to that, and so, how this lady would keep these cats and yada, yada, yada in this room and so forth. And when the cats passed or whatever, she would still keep them there. And there was a lot with that, because she wanted to save, even though she couldn't save her dad, in her mind, subconsciously, though, the anxiety around the fear of letting go, she tried to hold on, through her fear, how that played out subconsciously in her conscious experience. She tried to save, literally, like, keep them around physically. And I can see how that connected to her childhood trauma and experience. So everyone, like, goes through this differently. I've known people and connected to people that hold on to stuff, and you will see this a lot because of the emotional traumas that have been experienced. in childhood, and then you see it play out in adulthood where people will hold on to something for 20, 30, 40 years, an obituary. And again, this is not to judge no one. I'm just letting y'all know how the emotional attachment, how it causes and can cause suffering, and for people not to be able to move forward and to accept and forgive themselves. And, and again, that can play out so many ways where you have people that have different connections where when the person transition their connection with the person, they may have argued, they may have something happened, and this person, something happened to them, and they hold a lot of guilt and shame around that because they could have said, I love you, they could have did this. So it looks different for everybody, how that plays out. And you'll see people start to go into different phases. Again, it can look like drug abuse. It can look like, substance abuse, hoarding things in the emotional aspect because they don't know how to let go. And we were never taught that because it's a mental thing just as well as it's an emotional thing. And it's a spiritual thing because it's ancestral or connected. And it all plays out in the physical aspect. So the whole mental health thing around this is like how I had to navigate it. I'm grateful for the people that were there, showed up on my path, that didn't have no idea what I was going through. And then, I was lashing out. And that's how some people do. Like, they lash out because they don't really have the support. They don't know where to put the anger or know how to navigate the emotion. So that's why you see a lot of people go out there that fight, or you see a lot of young boys and men, get into these disputes or whatever. And the first thing that, if you really ask them to the core of what's going on with them, it goes back to some type of trauma. It's rooted in some type of trauma, and more so is rooted in some type of pain, or, some type of fear. So again, it's like all of that, it ain't just people want to, it's easy for people to judge, and I've experienced this, like the fatherhood aspect of life. When you say, hold on, you pee, baby? Okay, one moment, y'all. Come here so daddy can wipe you. Come here. Okay, let's put some shorts on. Daddy finna make you something. What do you want, baby? Sweet potato fry? Yeah. Okay, okay, well. Okay, Daddy. Okay, Daddy, put something together, okay? So yeah, dang, I just stepped in some water or something. No. So again, there's a lot that people are mentally going through that we have no idea the underlying. We have no idea what really people are facing because we don't care. People really don't care. Like you really see, like, people don't care that they're giving this, they're giving, everybody don't want to go through their process of, what they call a funeral. Some people want to celebrate the life and the memories because we're not taught to honor that. What about the memories you had with these people? The stuff that happened is beyond our control, and it's easy said and done. But what about, we're not taught to celebrate the good things, the great things that we've experienced with these people. Oh my God. We're not taught. You okay? Okay. We're not taught or shown like, okay, yeah, give gratitude. No, it's immediately put them on a shirt, celebrate them. Life goes on. People eating right after what they call it, the wait or whatever. People just move on like nothing ever happened. But we're not shown. There's no psychologist, or there's nobody there to tell us like how to mentally process this, how to be like, okay, after this, that could be a possibility that you may anything. If you need someone to call them. That's people say that, yeah, you're going to the. But man, there's been so much hoarded emotionally with our mothers and people and so forth, men, to where, there's so much, it can be so much distance because no one really says like, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Are you okay today? That's not normal in a lot of communities. Someone calling each other and say, hey, how you doing? No, they calling the gossip about the person next door. They're calling the gossip about this person owed me this money. This person, a lot of stuff that's more external, but not really focused on the internal aspect of like, why did sis do that? Why such and such do that? It's why did she was triggered? Why would she go do something like that? Is it something like, what does this behavior stem from? It's a lot of things that play into that. And again, this from my own experience, I've had to learn to navigate this in the best way I know how. And again, it looks different. It looks different for everybody. A lot of us ain't taught to have a journal. That could change a lot. Journaling your feelings, your emotions, writing them out, painting them. Even if you feel angry, it ain't gotta look like some artist. It's simple to where it's like you writing it out, balling it up, letting it go. Because everyone's different. Someone might just see it visual. Someone may have to talk about it. Someone may have to do it in so many different ways. The purpose of what I'm getting at is like, this is a moment to open up a lot of healing, and a lot of what we're going through collectively is a lot of heart healing. Root, meaning that the root chakra, the base, the survival. We already out of survival. That curse of survival is gone. So now we're thriving. We're thriving in, mental health awareness, emotional well-being, seeing how the importance, how we really truly thrive, and what really, what success really is. What being a, simple accomplishments, simple things like getting up, how I navigate my mental health and anxiety, or whatever you want to call it. I've had to get up, and I'll sit there for a while and just, instead of getting up and rushing, like I said, this is different for everybody. But through my journey, I get up and I sit there and I process. I let my thoughts come, or I get up and I'll get up to like do something structural, or do something to feel a sense of accomplishment. And that sense of accomplishment could be something as simple as washing the dishes. Something as simple as taking out the trash. Something as putting your shoes on, brushing your teeth. Something simple as gratitude for a sense of accomplishment. To say, I did this, I can feel great doing this without the judgment of other people. But again, the world has portrayed so much of like judging people by simply what they do, everything they do, what they say, and so forth. And it's like the fear is so surrounded about people even being themselves. The anxiety around that. People knowing they don't want to go around socially and interact with people. The possibility of the outcome of it. Creating a whole, it's so much I can dive into, but I'm just letting y'all know it's like the fatherhood, the motherhood, people trying to tell you how to navigate it, to do this and do that. Man, I can go on and on. Everyone trying to tell you, every mother and her father, your experience as a mother and her father, let me tell y'all, make y'all this very clear. If you do have kids, let me tell you, your experience is nothing like the next mother and her father. Because your own experience from your childhood is nothing like them. You didn't develop the same emotion. Even if you grew up in the same household, you still had a different interaction with your mother and her father. Because a lot of us grew up in environments where there was a lot of favoritism. Let's expose that. So even in that, your emotional intelligence was, you might have seen attention from mama more than daddy, because daddy was emotionally unavailable. So a lot of things, again, whether you are a mother and or father, or becoming one, know that your relationship with your children, and I told my partners, I said, my relationship with my princess is completely different, because I went through things in my childhood that I'm navigating through. I'm learning now to see the importance of being restored through my own wounded emotional well-being and communication. I'm learning through my princess how that it's not just verbal communication. There's an emotional connection that is nonverbal. That if someone's saying something, they don't know how to say it. They display this on a in another way to where you don't have to say anything. Their body language is said. So I'm learning that, and all the while a mother may learn through her princess or through her daughter in a way where it's natural emotions. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at more things, learning where now to meet where emotionally and balance it out logically and practically. So your experience with every one of your children, even with yourself, is completely different. Even with everyone that you met, every connection is completely different, but it's unique. So again, the mental health around all of that, like how we're trying to make sense of the fact of like a lot of these foundations, a lot of things we went through was never really on a solid foundation. It was never really built authentically. It was never really built upon truth. So now all of that is falling apart, whether that's family, whether that's school, a lot of things work, and so now we're rebuilding that within ourselves, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. It goes so on and on. So that it's a challenge, and even like now I don't feel ashamed or guilt around how the divine really wanted me to see the emotional aspect outside of societal standards of a man having, having to have all these things, um, the financial aspect or having all these things. I don't, man, let me tell you something. I don't feel ashamed at all for having to go through my experience because it really showed me I'd rather be emotionally secure, mentally at peace, spiritually, aware and all these things, and then let that play out physically, than to having seen people who have went through this and not even have no sense of security within self. And we know people like this. It's not to judge anyone, but it's more so seeing the mental health, even when, again, money can't cover up the fact of what you're really going through. Um, and just seeing the emotional instability and a lot of things, the insecurities, the unstableness, and around all of, again, how all of this can play out in different ways. So, a lot of us, a lot of you men out there, don't ever feel shame or guilt around where you are. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and it will get better or it will progress. It's just you got to see where you are to see how, take the account of your role and how you have played a part in these relationships and how they develop. So when you start to stand up, and that's one thing I realized with my mental well-being is like I had to learn to protect that. And then protecting that, I realized like I had to really see who was there trying to be of an emotional support, not just emotional. Then, you see the spiritual community. I had to realize like, okay, who's really supporting and not being self-righteous around that? Okay, what about people who support my mental health? Okay, let me pay attention to the state of mind of people to really see like, do they really care about their mental well-being? And all of this plays a part into the physical to show you like where people really are, their state of mind, their state of being, and the awareness around being able to decipher like, okay, what's for me and what no longer serves me. And that's a challenge because again, you moving forward, I don't feel like when someone transitions isn't the only time you should grieve. Huh? What'd you say, baby? Lily, okay, daddy. Okay. And grieving also happens when you got to walk away from relationships or partnerships from people. Because again, that is still a process where you have put put a lot of your energy or put a lot of, yourself, you poured a lot of your energy, exchange a lot of, whether sexually, whether platonic, whatever it is, there's still something there again that is an acceptance. There's a grieving process, and then, life goes on. And so even the mental health around that, we're not shown and taught that. Like, things come and go, people change, seasons change. This person may go away for years. You got some people you can pick out where you left off. You got some people that are butt hurt behind it just because you moved on and moved forward. And we're not taught that our happiness should be put first outside of the people that are in our lives as men. And that's what I feel like a lot of us are now regaining, not just men, but women. But most importantly, I'm seeing myself. It's like I see the beauty in it's okay to choose myself, meaning like it's okay for me to walk away and establish that and to let people know that I no longer want to deal with this dysfunctionality. I'm very much aware that like it was a process. Like when certain people transition, we know that there can be a lot going on when money's involved, insurance, what do they call that stuff? Like, when people leave something behind, a will or whatever, that can be a lot to go in with that. And a lot of people aren't mentally prepared for that, emotionally, because sometimes you might have this person that like don't care about the money, don't care about what they're gonna receive after. They just want their father and or mother or whomever it is to just be there, because they're trying to process that mentally. Then they got to get through that. Then you may have this person, that one family member that only care about getting the money and don't care about nobody else because they may have some stuff that they may have to pay or get through. But at the same time, it's like we so easily judge people for these things. But at the same time, again, it's a process. It's a process to where we're all trying to learn. We're all trying to get through these things in the best way we know how. And it don't come with a manual. Like I said, I didn't get to this place where I just knew it all. No, it was a process. It was a process of eliminating people that I knew that no longer serves me, that don't really pour into me. And so I had to learn it as a man to deal with people who, again, was reflecting my own insecurities more of people that I attracted, or things that I attracted, or even who I knew that was no good, but I stayed in it, who just simply seen what was superficial or material. And I had to navigate that and be like, you know what, this no longer serves me, and accepting that and move forward. So with that, it's like, it's no one knows the depths of the self-worth, the self-confidence you have to move forward. You as a woman, man, wherever your age, no one knows the depths of that. So it's an ever-changing, ever-evolving process. So, be gentle, and it's a process. I grew up in an abusive environment, and I had to learn what it was to really be gentle again with myself and other people. Talk to myself, no longer trying to raise my voice. It's a process that don't just happen overnight. So big ups to you, those of you that do know that the journey just don't stop after this and that. It truly, the healing process is really like it seems like a lifelong journey, because I'm sitting here like, oh, well, this, then you hear this from this person, and you still trying to process the fact of like, okay, I got to protect my peace. I got to protect my energy by all costs. So by doing that, some people may seem like you're giving them the cold shoulder, but you know what's best, or the best interest for you, rather than giving someone else that power to decide that for you. So, just take care of yourselves, man. And I wish a lot of you harmony, peace, all of you peace, love, and clarity, and self-awareness upon this journey. And just remember, everyone cannot go. But just remember that it's okay to choose you. It's okay to choose you. And in that, there were others that will know the awareness of that, to see you, those who celebrate the path that you've been on. Not those we know who are very fond of reminding us of what we did and how they was affected by it, or basically want to keep that narrative going. And you're here to rewrite that. Peace and blessings. Shalom.